carry on. Open your heart, set your mind at ease. Live your life and you'll be free. We're gonna rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising, rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising,
This is ITV News at 10.
Breaking news. Toon review taken off air after One Direction slip. The Toon review YouTube channel has been pulled off air after Billy, one of the co-hosts, accidentally mentioned One Direction during a football analysis. The main host, Paul, and co-hosts, Alex and Sam, put their hands over their faces and were left speechless. Billy's defense. He says he has Tourette syndrome, which sometimes causes him to blurt out random things. Fans are now rallying with the hashtag #BringBackBilly, but for now, it looks like One Direction has sent the Toon review in the wrong direction.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review. We made the news. And Sam, I guess we need to start with, Billy's gone.
Billy's gone. It's just the two of us. What are we going to do?
I don't know. It was very strange last night when the show ended, and it was a somber moment. And I've been sort of speaking to people all day regarding all sorts of complaints coming our way and all this kind of stuff. And so unfortunately, Billy's not a member of the Toon Review. We hope that we can negotiate to get him back. But I don't know what to say, Sam, really.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I think it was probably a long time coming. I think we can all agree, but it has sent tremors through the community, I'm imagining. So yeah, best of luck for the future, Billy. What can we say? Yep. You did it yourself.
Oh, well, I mean, that's interesting. It's interesting because we're talking a lot of shit. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's a bit under the weather tonight, guys. So it's just me and Sam. Alex is working, so it is just me and Sam for tonight. But there you go. A little bit of fun to start the show and have a bit of a laugh. But we wish Billy all the best to get back to his fighting fitness again and get back nice and healthy. Because he is a miss when he's not on the show, isn't he? But there you go. Anyway, welcome to the show, guys. Tonight is all about the project and where we are in the project and how we feel that the project is going. Are we on course? Are we slipping behind? Are we nowhere near? But I do want to get your guys' thoughts on everything as well. Full interaction tonight. It's a channel discussion. And we want to get your thoughts on where you feel we are in the process as well. Right from the start of the takeover up to now, where's it going? Are you still confident that things are going in the right direction despite the staff changes and despite where we are now, etc., etc.? So we'll come on to that. But if you do enjoy this show tonight, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please do subscribe. Free to do so. But don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show, I should say. Support the channel in the usual two ways. The join button just underneath me and Sam for membership. And of course, super chats, which is the $ at the bottom of the live comments, and that will guarantee your comment to be read on the show. Good evening, Sam.
Good evening. I want to kick off as well by saying a huge congratulations to Trevor McDonald on getting the all clear of the Big C.
Yes.
Huge part of this community. So immense news, mate. Thank you so much for letting us know that.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic news and a great way to start the show with some really, really positive news. So well done on beating it, matey. And we're all with you, and we're all thankful that you've pulled through. So well done. Niall says, strange the show was mentioned and then being done on another channel. May have to keep things under wraps until the banner is done.
Oh, okay.
Name and
Did
shame,
you-
Niall. Name and shame. You
yeah.
know the rules.
Mhm.
Let's have a look. Production budget must be through the roof.
We're talking about paid ITV for that, man.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It costs a lot of money, that Lego. But no,
bring you some joy.
it was obviously Susan who did that. So, she's a whiz on graphics and all that kind of stuff. So well done for Susan for putting that together. And before any of the woke people come on to us, it's a bit of fun, guys. We haven't mentioned anybody, just the band. Okay, so nothing nasty. Okay. PAB says, shout out for my poorly boy Oscar, who's poorly and watching. Oscar, get well soon, mate. I hope you're not too bad. And I hope you're getting spoilt rotten when you're not feeling too good. But love from me and Sam, and hopefully you'll get well soon. Peter says, good evening, TTR family. I hope that everyone is well. I heard Amanda Staveley is joining the Spurs board. Well, I mean, that's been rumoured for a long time, but we haven't, certainly nothing official, Sam. I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything official. I know that there's been reports made in the Telegraph, but I think we need to be mindful that her primary job is an investor. She's had her own portfolio. It would personally kill me to see her having the same sort of standard of influential role at another club, especially in the Premier League as well. But we need to remember, due to her financial situation, that she cannot join the board of directors because of the financial situation. So I'm interested to know, is it just for an acquisition? Is she just heading an investment? Time will tell. We're not in the know.
Yeah. I think that there is some Newcastle fans feeling a bit like about it, because obviously, she stated her love for Newcastle United, but this is the job she does. This is part of her
business
CV and business, isn't it? It's all about, bringing new business to other businesses, and she's doing exactly what she did at Newcastle. I don't think it's as full on as what she did at Newcastle, to be fair. But time will tell on that one. We'll just have to wait and see. But to be honest, she's amazing anyway. We still love her. Louis says, man, stop doing stuff like that. You always make me worried that someone has left the channel. Wacky Angler says, hope Billy's not out of action. Tourette's as long as Target is with his eczema. Oh, dear. I don't think he will be, to be honest. Tarek, thank you for being a member for exactly 2 years today. Thank you very much for your support, mate. Evening, Sam and Paul. Trust the process, is my opinion. We're better now than we were 3 years ago. Daniil says the project has hit a bumpy road, I feel. We are in a transition phase. Ari off the pitch.
It's an interesting comment. Might be a good place to actually start the conversation on, actually, Paul, because I think if we all took a bit of a barometer, would we feel it's been as bumpy if our current season had got to the start that we wanted it to? I think we all sort of can point fingers at the bumps in the road and where they are. I don't know about you, Paul, but I think Amanda leaving was probably the first bump in the first speed bump, certainly, in the road for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the, certainly for me, I don't think things have been as smooth since Amanda left. But if we look back to obviously when the takeover happened, we were all informed as fans that, I think they mentioned a 5-year process, and Mate Dad also came out and said, look, slow and steady wins the race. Don't expect too much too soon. But I don't think at the time everybody that took over Newcastle United did not realise what the Premier League were going to do, re throwing different rules in left, right and centre to stop us doing everything, linking up with a cartel, putting this rule in place, putting that rule in place and making things very, very difficult for us to move forward.
Absolutely. And it was days later they managed to, it was like Avengers Assemble, how quickly they all got together and decided to harpoon our hopes out of fear. And obviously we're seeing now the more coming together in regards to the Man City charges again. So it's going to be interesting to understand what the future looks like there. But I don't think any of the leadership team could have anticipated what the Premier League would have done in the action that they've taken, because it's absolutely killed us with the PSR rulings.
It certainly has. Tommy K says, best Newcastle podcast by a country mile, but Forest will be going above you after tonight. Well, if they do, they deserve to. You are where you deserve to be in the league, and that's for every team. Just quickly touching on the Man City goal yesterday, Sam, have you seen it? The winning goal?
I have.
Now, for me, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, right? A, because you can't be offside from a corner. And B, how many times do we see that happening? Every single game. There's always somebody in front of the keeper. Listen, for me, it just gives Arsenal fans another reason to mourn. But somebody put a very good video up on X this afternoon about how Ben White does it every single corner that Arsenal get. He stands in front of the keeper and blocks him off. So shut up, Arsenal fans, basically.
Well, there you go. Shut up, Arsenal fans, I take it. But yeah, I would agree with that. I think, when you see it from different angles, I think if it's going to be one rule for all, then VAR need to pull the finger out and start treating everybody the same. We see people being treated differently by different refs, different VAR. It's a hard one to gauge, and I think it stands personally. Yeah.
Kendall said, blasted through schedule despite every dirty trick to stop us. I mean, to be fair, look, I think we can just sort of not really focus on the first part of the takeover when Eddie, and the team got us out of relegation. Because for me, I think that was excellent, but the work really started for me when that season ended. Just a complete rehaul, and the process maybe starting then, because avoiding relegation was very important. I never thought we were going down anyway, to be honest. Once the takeover happened, I'd Steve Bruce wasn't going to stay in charge. There was no doubt in my mind. So when we qualified for the Champions League, that will have upset a lot of people. A lot of people at the Premier League and the cartel clubs. It's happening a little bit with Villa at the minute as well. But from our point of view, I think maybe it was too quick in the process qualifying for the Champions League, dare I say, because nobody expected that. Nobody.
I don't think we expected it as fans. But what it did do for us as a club is completely galvanize us, and probably as an unfair byproduct actually set some very high expectations for us as fans moving forward. I think if it was a slower, gradual trajectory that we were on, if we'd been told that there was a long-term roadmap of what we wanted to do as a club, and then actually getting that, which is a football fan, apart from winning silverware, is there any higher accolade than getting in the Champions League and doing it so quickly. And I think that just sort of set the bar for what we expect. Not to mention that obviously the enormous wealth of the ownership as well. I think we were just so elated to think, right, okay, spend, and then to have that cut off from it was heartbreaking. But we've the recruitment that's taken place, which I know that we're going to get into some of the bigger appointments that have been made, the future appointments that we are going to have to backfill for in the future as well. But that aggression for me is certainly continued. I think, do you want to start off with the appointments that we've made then, Paul?
Yeah, just a couple of Nick saying Amanda's been a bit naughty with the leaked WhatsApp messages. Well, that one saying to Bin Salman, of course. Bin Salman getting a bit impatient, shall we say, and the message to Mike Ashley's team. I don't think it's well. I mean, is it naughty? I don't know. Martin to say, I'm in hospital with my wife starting in labour now, so hopefully a quick one. Martin, best of luck to you and your wife.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, hope everything goes okay. Stephen says, hi, guys. Now's the time. The guy that runs the show, remember, wants to be number one. Put his golf clubs away and start backing this manager. Paul Taylor says, this is my favourite channel now. How are the lads? Thank you, Paul. Much appreciated. A couple of Seaside Tooney, who's been a member for 4 months now. Thank you for your continued support, my man. I think the Premier League will do all they can to stop us going to rise. And Papa Bradley is a new member of the channel. Sam's dad, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. Claire says, we need to move on from Amanda. She will always be loved and remembered for what she did, but it is a job for her. I mean, Amanda did them, we're talking about major acquisitions when the takeover happened. Obviously, Eddie Howe was one. Dan Ashworth was another one. They went after Dan Ashworth. And, he went on gardening leave at Brighton, and the rest was history, and he came in.
Something new and interesting for him to do, eh?
Well, yeah, he got a bit of practice in for future dates, didn't he?
Certainly did.
I never felt that team of Eddie Howe and Ashworth was right. I felt there was always a bit of distance between the two. Eddie never really spoke highly of Dan Ashworth. We'll come on to Mitchell later on, but as now where we are, when they get together, and it didn't seem right all the way through when Ashworth was here.
And I mean, you could argue that it maybe speaks to how juvenile and the experience of the leadership of the club at the time of the takeover. If you look back to the Amazon documentary, we had Darren Eales coming from America, Atlanta, and some of those appointments, maybe the CVs looked great, but actually recruitment has so much more to do with how people network and how they're going to talk to each other. Are they the right fit? A bit like how Mitchell looks for players. It's actually people's qualities, skills, and attributes and attitude that matter more than CVs. And I think this is where we're starting to hone in a little bit better and hire for our weaknesses and play to our strengths a bit more.
It just makes me wonder, when the takeover happened, and I know me and Dad said a slow and steady progress, but I think us getting to the Champions League, I'll always say that I think we got there too quick. I didn't mind getting there by any stretch of the imagination. It was wonderful. Don't get me wrong, but in the basis of the process that they wanted to put in place and the slow and steady build, I think getting into the Champions League raised a lot of people's expectations too quickly, and we're at fault for that as fans as well, because we were all taken on this ride with Newcastle United into the Champions League. We all now expect a lot more from our football team, and some people shout us down about that. Some people, when you talk about wanting Eddie Howe out and things like that, there's a lot of difference in the fan base at the minute. But to me, there's always going to be that difference in a fan base. You're always going to have people who think one opinion and think another. It's just the way football works. And that's the beauty of it. There's always something to talk about, which is what a lot of people don't actually understand very much. When they watch shows like this or any other channel, they'll all say, well, it's... you don't know what... You're not involved in the game. You're not there. You're not behind the scenes. But this is a fan channel. It's just like sitting in the pub with fans talking about the club that we all love. And I think one thing I miss about Amanda not being here is I don't think the communication from the club is as good on that side of the process. I think when Dan Ashworth came in, there was always updates from Amanda about who was coming in, what position they were taking. And that happened very, very quickly. Lately we've seen announcements from Newcastle United that maybe, talked about Dan Burns' extension. That's just been released. It happened in the summer. For me, that's a very strange thing to say, given it happened in the summer. Why wasn't that released, or why weren't we told? It's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, you've given us a couple of things to go for there. So,
I always do.
I know you really do, don't you? Like testing us. Right, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, let's go then. So, first of all, Champions League, I think we absolutely deserved the excitement. I think we need to almost when we look back at it now, it was always going to be a can we maintain? Turns out no. So let's get our expectations right. I love that, especially here, we all have different opinions. If you don't believe that, go and watch last night's channel because that was a hoot.
Well, yeah.
But like everybody in the chat has different opinions as well, which is great. It's fan chat, it's fan banter, which makes it fun and exciting. I think for me, it's are we getting warmer? Are we hot? Are we cold? Where are we in terms of this plan? Because you're absolutely right. With Amanda, you got the sense of where we were going in terms of a next step. And then I also agree completely. I felt like we were always kept up to date with things. Now, interestingly enough, if you have the Newcastle United app, they have just released it's like a PDF document that you can actually go and download. And there's a lot in it that talks to communication. So I think they've probably identified that we've got a bit of a disconnect between the business side and the fans. So there's a lot in there about it. It's a lot about what what's the fans called that are meant to represent all of us. What are they called? The fan.
Oh,
What is it?
I
can't think of the name for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about. Yeah, because there's a spot up for grabs, isn't there?
Yeah,
Is it fan
exactly.
liaison or something like that? Is it?
So, something of that nature, but
Yeah.
it's representation from overseas, young fans, veteran fans, absolutely everybody. It talks to them as well. So I think they've identified that there is a bit of a gap. I think that Amanda and Meadad were on social media and very prominent with it, and always putting in the articles and giving us a sense about how they felt about the losses. And it felt like the club felt them just as hard as we do. Whereas right now, that's really missing.
Anthony Robson, been a member for 2 months. Thank you, mate. No comment there, but just celebrating 2 months of membership. Anthony says, any new business often sees a plateau, which is what has happened to us. The next step will see us rise again. Daniil says, I'd rather we build progressively than do a Blackburn. Yeah, I mean, look, I've just seen a comment in the chat before about Manchester City's, they took a good 4 years and they did things slow and steady. They brought in a couple of big name transfers and, built it like that. But it was very different for them because they didn't have PSR or anything like that or FFP to deal with back then. They were able to build, but they did it right. They didn't just bring in, 60 million pound players left, right and centre. They did it slowly. We're hampered, and a lot of comments coming in that the process has been dented by the lack of recruitment, Sam, and the fact that that is the one thing that has massively let us down over this process that we've been on so far, is the fact that we haven't brought anybody in. Now we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so we don't know if that is down to just Eddie saying, I don't need players in this position or that position, like it's been rumoured in the summer with just wanting Gay. But I think the fact is that we're falling a little bit behind on the recruitment side.
I think for me, my gut instinct on it is, and this wasn't put out in the media or anything like that, but this is completely my opinion. I think to meet PSR regulations, we had to obviously sell Minter and Anderson, unfortunately, which I know that Eddie seems to feel a lot when he's talking in press conferences. So we know that one hurt and stung. I think we had a certain amount of kitty to spend in this window, and there may have been little room for negotiation for anybody else, but a very, very high price tag player that Crystal Palace just didn't want to sell and wanted us to take for all we got. But on the positive side, with the Mitchell appointment, given how he's cleverly recruited in the past, I do think he's the right person to have behind the scenes to actually focus on that. You mentioned
he needs a full window, Sam. That's what I think. Fans are getting us, but I think he needs a full window.
Oh, he needs the opportunity, and he probably, I think the light, as Alex likes to say, the arbitrary lines in the sand need to be drawn. There's always going to be teething problems with anybody new coming into any type of business. Mitchell's come in, he's got to obviously find his feet under the table, but then actually navigate a relationship with Eddie Howe, who by all accounts seems to be quite, I don't want to say controlling over anything, but he has strong ideas about what he wants the team to look like and who he wants to have in the side as well. So just being mindful of that one. I do think Mitchell deserves a little bit of time in post before we come out with pitchforks and flaming batons.
Yeah, I like that comment from Niall, actually. The structure of the club is very good now. I think it just needs to match it on the pitch, which is not happening and hasn't for a while, if we were honest. I think that's a very, very good point. Fahad, thank you very much for your super chat. When will it be time you join the Eddie out camp, who have now realised it's time for Eddie to go? Thanks for his services, but now we need a manager whose champion mentality and dynamic, a winner who doesn't settle. We've also got a super chat in from the Toon Review Fan Association. Hello, Paul and Sam. Hope you're well. P.S. Defo know who this is, Paul. I have no... Is it Daniil's son again? By any chance? That's just a wild guess. Otherwise, I have not a clue.
Thanks, though.
Yes, definitely. Wacky says, I think a lot of focus was put into infrastructure off the pitch, training ground scouting and boosting revenue, also bulking out the youth teams. I do agree with that, but I think the youth teams have still got a long way to go. A lot of, I think, was it two summers ago, we spent a lot of money bringing in a lot of youngsters, and it hasn't quite worked for the academy yet. But listen, there's plenty of time in that, and we just have to, I guess, be patient, with the academy. Be very, very patient. We've got some good players coming through. We've seen the Miley brothers certainly burst through. Sanusi's bursting through. There's a few others who are very exciting players coming through. So it's getting there. It's getting there.
Well, let's maybe talk to that for a minute, because there's got to be some influence from Mitchell in this. We know that he does like to strengthen academy, and he likes that sort of pipeline of players coming through, not just to try and get them into our very own first team, but actually to actually sell. Let's actually get some market values and put these types of players in the shop window. We can put them out to loan. I remember a long time ago, Darren Eales came out with a statement, talked about the additional revenue generation, which we'll talk about a little later on. But that's an arm of revenue generation, not just bringing up players to get into the first team, but actually selling them on for increased value as well. Yeah. And don't forget that we've actually seen Mitchell do a fantastic job with the recruitment in the women's team as well. Statements from Becky Langley in her post-match interviews have actually talked to how often they're in contact. And look at how the lasses have recruited this year. We've got ex-England in there now. We've got Joel, who's been called up for Wales. You've got Eales, who's our Jamaican international now.
Who is on fire right now?
Fire! Yeah, she's class. And so I think that speaks to it. He's not just here for the men's team. He's actually doing it holistically across the board now. So I think we're going to start seeing it. We're talking about big bucks for the men's team, though, and that's where things get challenging because of the rules that are in place. Indeed.
Kirith, thank you very much for your super chat. You got it in one. I knew it. I knew it was you, but but I do like the Toon Review Appreciation Society. I think that has a certain ring to it, Sam. Maybe you should start that kind. Yeah, maybe start a group somewhere on Facebook or something like that, Kirith. The Toon Review Appreciation Society. We'll sign up. Absolutely. Connor Close, been a member for 2 months on the channel. Thank you for your support, Connor. Don't think Eddie will take us any further. As always, the same tactics. Far from a top 6 club. We have Christopher Maxwell as a new member. Thank you very much for your support, Christopher, and welcome to Members Club. We have Ronan Tyrrell with 2 super chats. His first one, the Happy Clappers keep banging the drum, saying the club always has a bigger plan, but we keep stalling the progress on the stadium, transfers, commercial deals, etc. And the second one says, maybe we need to readjust our views and maybe start to think we will only ever be a top 8 club, as PIF have done nothing to show us we will ever be more.
Oh,
Uh,
goodness me. Someone's had the
yeah,
Weetabix today. Christ alive.
yeah, Ronan, I think you've been a little bit harsh. I mean, I know it's probably late over there in New Zealand, but I mean, yeah, look, I don't think, there was a lot of rumours at the start of the season, wasn't there? Or PIF aren't bothered anymore when the transfer window's shut and they're going to be on the way and they're just frustrated because of the rules that have been put in place, etc. However, they've since come out and denied all that, and they're still ploughing money into the club as they would. They've got some fantastic ideas ahead of us. I think it's very important that we now just get reined in a little bit as fans. With the likes of the stadium and behind the scenes. I'm not talking about on the pitch at the minute. I'm talking about you mentioned the new stadium, but they've obviously got plans for that and plans to build a new stadium or build an extension onto St. James's Park, Sam, is not an easy job. Because they've got to get planning permission. They've got to get architects in. This is a huge decision what they're going to come to, whether to move us out to St. James's Park or if they can give us a world-class stadium by redeveloping St. James's.
Yeah, and it probably flies in the face of the comment that was just read out in terms of, PIF being bored. These things take a great deal of time to either look at a feasibility study to extend a historical landmark with grade 2 listed buildings around it, or actually upping sticks and moving completely. I mean, look at the investment that they've made already. This isn't an investment firm that looks like they're downing tools because of PSR rules at all. And equally to sort of your point, Paul, about we've got to have maybe a bit of a reality check. I think instead of a reality check, we just need to remind ourselves of the great things that have happened already, because I think when the results aren't in our favor, it's quite easy to forget where we actually are and the good position that we're still in. So if we quick roll call, get the Rolodex out of things that we've achieved already. So the St. James's feasibility study, that is going to take a great deal of time, but how exciting is that going to be, either if we do get to stay or if we're going to get a brand new state-of-the-art complex. Now, I talk in terms of complexes because if we look at one of the more recent appointments that we've made, was it Roger Thornton? Correct us if I'm wrong in the chat.
Sounds about right, yeah, for the stadium.
Yeah, one of the Rubin brothers, part of their portfolio, he builds global offices, he's got retail, he's got hotels and leisure assets. That for me speaks of roadmap ahead on the horizon. It speaks to multi-club, but it speaks to a huge development complex for me as well. Somebody who's that type of experience and worked in the area as well. Yeah. And I think what it's kind of reminded us of, I don't know if you know this, Paul, he's a little bit of a fact for you. I know, I'm just teaching it all tonight.
Unless they come from Alex. If they come from Alex, I'm not really.
Just dismiss them because he's just trying to be smart. I'm just trying to share something fun here. So in New York, the Chrysler Building architect wanted to build the tallest building in New York, and it was completed in 1930, I think it was. But actually, the builder of the Empire State Building also wanted the tallest building, so they actually built the spire in secret inside the Empire State Building, and then it was weeks after the Chrysler Building was announced, they put that one up. So this tells me we are probably going to wait for Man United to announce what their complex is going to be, what's going to
smash it out of the park.
And we are going to absolutely smash it out of the park with an Empire State Building. So I'm looking forward to that. And look at St. James's right now. The new restaurants, I think we can quickly forget about those. The hospitality packages, this is all additional revenue. Business corporations, the signage that came down for Sports Direct, goodness me, symbolic. How symbolic was that, Paul, getting that signage down?
And they made it symbolic as well by, making sure that the world knew that those Sports Direct signs were coming down. Fahad, you've just had a little dig at me in the chat there saying, not cool, bro. You didn't read out my super chat. I did read out your super chat.
Did you?
Well, when will it be time you join the Eddie Out campaign? Who have now realised it's time for Eddie to go. Thanks for his services, but now you need a manager who's champion mentality and dynamic, a winner who doesn't settle. I did read it out. I know I did. I'm not going stupid. John Cook, thank you for your super chat. You just have to be patient, guys. There's a lot of chat coming in, but I will read the super chats. You know, I've told you, guaranteed to read them out. I think we forget sometimes, John Cook with a super chat, sorry. I think we forget sometimes how dire things were under Ashley on and off the pitch. A lot of progress has been made, and it takes time to reach the top. Patience is the word. I thought bird was the word, but, you know, patience can be the... Hey, I'm a comic.
You'll
What
get
can I
with your
say?
birdie song again. Do you remember when you got the halftime song wrong? What were you singing?
I think it was the
Something
chicken one.
ridiculous.
I think I did the
Yeah, you were
chicken
doing
one.
the chicken song.
Yeah, I mean, look. Well, they're bloody birds,
Oh,
aren't they?
dear.
You know,
Never
link
mind.
them together.
Never mind. Yeah.
Barney Boy 1000 says, do you think the PIF can just buy the Premier League and just make us kings? I think they'd like to make us kings. Yeah, everybody's saying I did read out that super chat. Thank you, guys. Fahad, he's put something in the chat. No, I wanted a response. I didn't mean you didn't read it. Anyways, it's chill, bro. Hang on a minute. Let me just get it back.
I said on an earlier show, I think it was TTR Friday, that I am sitting on the fence, but the fence is
No, it was on the
swaying.
review, Sam. It was
Oh, it
last
was on the
night. Yes,
review.
it was last night. I know
Yeah.
it seems like a million years ago, but it was. Yeah, you're on the fence. Fahad, to be honest, I'm not in the Eddie out yet, and I'll say yet because I think these upcoming games before the next international break will give us a good idea of where we are this season, and you know whether we can compete. I think I'm happy with Eddie as manager. I'm not happy with his in-game management, and I think there's a big difference between the two right there. His in-game management for me with his substitutions and the lack of maybe a plan B or a plan C, that's what I've got reservations about with Eddie. But his work ethic, his manager, his commitment, everything like that, I certainly don't have a problem with. I think the team he picked on Saturday was good enough to beat Brighton, in my opinion, when we're playing well and when we're going at it. But because we weren't clinical enough, we end up losing the game. We played okay, certainly a decent first half, but we don't have that clinical side to us. And I think that's what we've got to work on in training ahead of the Chelsea game, because that's going to be a tough one. Peter Merrifield, thank you for your super chat. Imagine all the people. Imagine where we could be if we had Unai Emery as manager instead of Eddie Howe. It's hypothetical. We don't know where we could be in a worse position. You know,
I will tell you something though, Paul.
Go on then.
I've brought up my deadline on my decision over Eddie Howe. I am on the fence about it currently, but I said I would give him till the end of the season. Given my other arse cheek has now gone over the fence and I'm just about to cock the other leg over, he now has until December. I have brought the deadline forward.
Well, you know what? It's not a bad shout, Sam, to be honest, because I think everybody's looking at where we are, where we're going to be at Christmas. And I think if we're nowhere near challenging for those European spots, which I think PIF definitely expect that's where we want to be. If we're not, maybe they'll pull the trigger. I don't know.
I think that's what it'll come down to. But for me, I haven't seen enough evidence yet of those lessons learned for the in-game management. And that's of grave concern to me. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah. Julie J says, I'm almost in the Eddie out camp. Too many team selection mistakes, bad subs, no plan B, set pieces are diabolical. There's a lot he's got to get right, start getting right. There's no doubt about it. And listen, Chelsea away, Chelsea at home, and then Arsenal at home. It's some big games coming up in the next week and a half. And we've got to be on our game. And I don't think we are on our game yet. Yes, we did okay first half against Brighton. But again, this is what we're talking about the process, Sam, are we being realistic? You know, as to thinking we should just beat Man Cities and beat Chelsea's and beat Arsenal's, or is it because of that good season we had to make the Champions League, we're thinking maybe the team is better than it actually is? Or am I being a bit harsh with that?
I think you're being harsh.
Thanks.
just yeah, you're welcome. No, do you know what I think it is? I think for me, we've got some real quality people there. I think sometimes we don't attack the games as we should, and
Mhm.
we don't actually have. I'm not too concerned about the formation. For me, it's coming down to attitude and those in-game decisions, which is managerial. That's what I would expect Eddie to manage and get us moving forward on. And I think this sort of speaks nicely to the show, because we're talking about what's the roadmap, what is it going to look like? A PIF actually going to be able to give him the extra time that's needed to pull this round and learn the lessons? Not sure.
Well, Jimmy makes a good point there, saying that he's disappointed. He thinks that we're paying the price for keeping, hold of mediocre players without getting them out the door. But again, we don't know what's truly gone on behind the scenes. Have anybody actually been interested in our mediocre players? Because it's all right saying we haven't got rid of them, but there may not be the interest there. I understand giving them, extensions to the contracts. We've seen some puzzling ones since the takeover. The Dummett extension, the Matt Ritchie, etc. When we expected to ship these players out the door, and that didn't happen, Sam. And I guess that's also knocking back the process, because we need to clear out the dead wood. And I guess we haven't done that as quick as I think the fans thought we might.
Yeah, because I think we all thought we were going to have a shit ton of money that we could clean out the dead wood. We need squad depth. We need players in for rotation, and none of us know what that kitty actually looks like unless
Yeah.
you're, in a circle, Mitchell and Eddie Howe. We don't know how much they had to spend. So for me, it's not mega bucks kitty. Unfortunately, that sounded like a new superhero, didn't it, for kids? Mega bucks kitty. Anyway, it looks like we didn't have that sort of money available to us, so we had one player that we were actually going after. So yeah, I think our team wise, we haven't been performing well, but probably off the pitch, we have looked to generate revenues in other ways. And I think, remembering when we're talking about revenue, that, PIF are a business. They want to generate money. They're not as interested in us about winning trophies, but they know that is going to bring the money through the door. So what have we seen done recently that probably tells us we're on the right path for that? Well, we've seen, the Adidas kit launch. Darren Eales came out and said the sales were unprecedented for it, which was great news. The stack being built as well. Again, another stream of revenue with that. The women's team getting the promotion to the Championship League. Obviously, hopefully that'll turn into the Women's Super League eventually. But as well, even just this week, we've been seeing new news that, there's been progress on the Newcastle fan shop, which is at St. James's. They're actually opening one in the Metro Centre as well.
That's going to be
and
huge.
If you notice, it's massive, and they talk to it like it's a flagship. So this tells me, again, thinking,
and there's going to be a Greggs inside it. Let's not forget that.
Stop it. I'm going to die for a black and white sausage roll. Seriously, love that.
We just said roll on the end of that. Jesus Christ. Oh, my
on.
God.
Steady on. But there's been lots of other expansions. There's been lots of other great stuff that's happened. They've got the presence in Phoenix as well. So actually looking at the revenue that's going to be coming from the merchandise alone is absolutely huge. The black and white stripes are iconic. I'm trying not to be biased with it, but it's easily marketable when you have trophies in the cabinet. So that's what we're going to. And I think my vision for the future is obviously seeing us lift trophies, but we're putting in the foundations right now, so we are ready to rock and roll. We're looking at multi-club. We're looking at a huge Newcastle complex, in my personal opinion. I am not in the know, though.
Do you know what, though? I'm still very excited about PIF owning this football club, right? I'm still very excited that we have the richest owners in the world, right? And nobody can take that away from us right now. That's where we stand. Yes, we have definitely hit some bumps in the road right now, but did anybody actually ever think that they were gonna come in and everything was gonna be, rosy in the garden all the way through the process? Absolutely not. Life doesn't happen like that. Never mind a football club. Any business hits bumps along the road. We all do in our personal lives, etc. It's how you get over that bump and respond to it. And this is I think this is a very much a key point that we're at now in the process, because obviously, Darren Eales sadly had to stand down. A lot of people were critical of Darren Eales, saying, during the transfer window, where's he at? However, lots of people have come out in praise of the work that Darren Eales has done behind the scenes, that we're not privy to. And we're not going to be privy to everything that he did, Sam. So I think we just need to sort of maybe lay off him a little bit, because certainly everything coming from the club is very positive about Darren Eales.
Yeah, and I think as well, we'll never probably understand the extent of the work, but again, that comes down to communication. We as fans will only know for sure of anything if the club makes a statement and tells us about it. Again, that disconnect of communication between club and fans. I think what we do know right now is that they are heavily recruiting. So if we look at where we are, under the Ashley era, it was, the media team was set up with the recruitment team in sheds outside with fan heaters. That's where we were. The training ground improvements that we had, which we saw in the Amazon documentary. And now, how quickly technology and science actually works. And, the recent appointments that we have, we've got Bunsen now, we've got new coaching staff literally across all of the teams that we've got. That's from the academy to the men's to the women's teams as well. But literally within the last 4 weeks, there's been 5 new job postings for Newcastle United. Interestingly, you have a loans and recruitment sports scientist. You've also got a loans physiotherapist on there as well, and a psychologist for loans and recruitment. So could it be that we're moving more into the loan market because of where we're going? They're also hiring for the likes of nutritionists, safeguarding and well-being managers as well. This is literally within the past 4 weeks. We are aggressively recruiting in the backstage, but for what supports us on the pitch, which I think is particularly exciting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to see that aggression moved into the transfer market in January. And, if we get to do, when we come to do the deadline day show and we get to the end of that 12-hour shift again, and the charity stream at the end of January, and we haven't signed anyone, I think we'll have a case to be annoyed. Absolutely. But
I think we've already got a case to be annoyed about it, but it's
we could go out in January. I mean, January is a difficult window, isn't it? Because the prices of players are inflated, and some teams when they go shopping for players in January, it's out of desperation to try and avoid relegation or whatever. That we're in a very different situation to that. We're looking at players that are able to take us to the elite level. So it's a different market completely that we're shopping in. Shana, I think you've been a little tiny bit harsh here. Where are we? Not far from where Ashley and Bruce left us, to be honest. It's like we are coming full circle back to where we started. I can't agree with you, Shana. I know that's your opinion. Absolutely, fully valid to have your opinion. But for me, I think we're a million miles away from where we were with them. A, we're not fighting relegation. B, we're not Sports Direct cash cow anymore. And we have some fantastic owners with some fantastic plans, whether that be an expansion of the stadium, a new stadium. They're ploughing money into training centres. They're ploughing money into the women's team. They have been relentless behind the scenes with what they're doing. Yes, on the pitch isn't quite where we want it to be, but behind the scenes is very different, Sam, surely.
I think, Paul, we can often look at the performance on the pitch to rate a club in terms of its project, if you will, or the business plan that it has. Yeah. But actually, it's a very simple case. Let's just look at club value for one. Under Ashley, what did he sell it for? 300 million. If we are now worth 1 billion. So that speaks to the value of the club and the turnaround that's been made since the takeover. So that's all the fact I need to talk about.
Yeah. Laura says owners can't be watching this footy thinking how it's going to pull us out of this. They're probably scared to upset the fan base by sacking him. Again, Laura, what I will say to that is, pull us out of this. I mean, we're not in dire straits here. What are we, 8th or 9th in the table? I mean, we're not we're not exactly away from European football right now. If we were sort of bottom six and things like that, I would probably agree with you. In fact, I think Eddie would be in a lot of pressure if we were bottom six. But I don't think they're sitting looking, thinking, we're in a rut or things like that. Yeah, we haven't got going yet this season, but we're very early in. And the last couple of performances, we have seen improvements in certain areas. Yes, we need to be a lot more clinical, but surely we're not in a really bad rut, are we, Sam? Where we're sort of worried.
I am.
Okay, right. Well, that's the beauty of having different opinions, isn't it? I mean, yeah.
Put the money where the mouth is. See, perfect example how we have different opinions.
Exactly.
I'm worried. Just it's killing me weekend vibe at the minute. You know how I love a weekend vibe. It is killing me weekend vibe, and I think just as a football fan, I'm just seeing the potential that we have, and when it's not realized, that's what's making it a killer. And you're right, being in the position where we are, being mid-table at this time of the season, we're not fighting relegation. I'm not worried about that as yet, but am I where I hoped and expected we would be, given the quality and standards that we have? Probably not.
Interesting. Couple of super chats. Ronan, Tyrrell, thank you very much. PIF cannot sack Eddie when he has built when he's taken us this far and given peanuts in the last 18 months. Sack the board before Eddie. We don't want to say sack the board. None of that. Peter Garthwaite, thank you for yours. What's the point in Mitchell bringing in top youngsters when Eddie won't play them? I think it's time Eddie had a rocket up his ass from the board. I think personally, a lot of people got a rocket up their ass when the chairman was last here at the end of the transfer window. He's been here since, obviously, but when the transfer window ended and he came here, I think a lot of people had rockets up their asses because, look, our chairman would have been in constant contact with Mitchell, etc., about what was going on. But we'll never be privy to what really went on, what the conversations were behind the scenes. We're basing a lot of what we're saying on journalistic reports, which can be wrong, but it generates opinions and it generates a chat. But I think rocket up arse would have been given to a lot of people, Sam.
Yeah. I think his main concern would be that if our club is not showcasing its talent and where we want to be, where we deserve to be, and where our fans deserve to be getting some celebration time, there are going to be questions asked. But all owners, that CEOs, that have a mentality for this. It's business focused, and they want results. When it's not happening, questions are going to be asked, and questions should be asked, and rightfully so. I think Eddie's a very eloquent manager. I think he brings a calmness, and I think he speaks very well in front of camera. But we've seen it as well. I don't want to say deceiving us with what's happening. We know as a manager he's got to have his cards close to his chest so he doesn't give anything away tactically. But when we talk about injuries, does anybody know what's happening with injuries? It's a bit crazy in terms of where we want to go to. So I think conversations will have been had. I think Eddie has the communication skills to probably wiggle his way out of those difficult conversations. At least till December.
Look, by the way, Greg's is next door to the club shop. It's not going to be in the club shop. A few people have put me right on that, so I do apologise. But next door in, does it really matter? It's going to be combined. Go for a shirt and then a stotty. It's fantastic.
Well, no, because all the kit's going to stink of pasties, so we cannot have that.
That's the whole point, Sam.
No.
Oh, Sam, you clearly never lived in the old days in the Gallagher end. Honestly, seriously, man. Standing there with the smell of stale piss and pies on your shirt for days. It was you could smell your shirt and think of St. James's Park. And a lot of fans will relate to that. Or when you couldn't go to the toilet and just pissed yourself because you couldn't get there.
Well, not at the prices they're charging for any type of merchandise now, because they cost a bomb.
Funny enough, Claire's comment here says fans will start to turn at all the merchandise they keep throwing at us, and we see nothing in the January window. I think they'd have a lot to answer for then. 100% they would. Terry says, can anyone give me Paul's Toon Review email address, please? I've sent a few emails, but maybe sent to the wrong address. Cheers, how are the Toon? Terry, contact.thetoonreview@gmail.com. It's contact.thetoonreview@gmail.com. It's in the description. So if you just scroll down the description, you'll see business inquiries and you'll see the email address. Simon says, I've just joined. Is Billy not well? Oh, yeah, he's not well. But we had a little bit of a laugh at the start about that. Stephen says, I actually think we are on course. Yes, we finished fourth, but that was too early. Now we are all in a more realistic position. Realistic position, I think, after, 3-4 years of the takeover, I'd expect us to be, I would think the PIF expect us to be regularly in Europe. And I think that's where the pressure's on Eddie this season, because I think they will want European football next season, and Eddie has to get that.
Will he?
I'm not saying if he will, I'm saying he has to get that in order for me, if it, like you said about Christmas, if he's nowhere near or way out of the reckoning, I think they pull the trigger. And I think if they don't pull the trigger at Christmas, and we're still in a little bit of a battle, if he doesn't get Europe next season, I think he'll go in the summer.
Well, I agree with probably Looney Tunes comment here to say, like, we need to be getting top 6 every season. That would probably be my expectation. And right now we're 8th. We're not a million miles away from that. It's a couple of decent scores away, but it's just finding that balance that we haven't seemed to have reached. It's the inconsistencies which I think is killing us at the minute. It's just classic NUFC roller coaster.
Yeah. Absolutely. Phoenix Pork Pie, welcome. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're well. I have always been on Eddie's side, but this season, with the scraping of results, I think if they lose the next 4 games, Eddie could be gone. Well, I think if we lose 4 straight, the pressure's massively on. Well, that'll be 5 straight, including the Brighton one.
Yeah, it would be.
But I just think if we start scoring goals, we're going to be fine. But we normally play... Yeah, but we're coming up against Chelsea and Arsenal, and in the recent past, we do kind of do well against the top teams, don't we? So, like the Man City game, we tend to just step it up. But that's my problem, is how they can step it up against the elite sides, but then when they play teams around them or below them, we struggle. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because the quality's there, and that's what I'm keep coming back to, this frustration that I have over it. The quality is there. We can showcase it against some very, very good sides. And it's sort of the teams around us or below us we struggle with. Is it that we're not respecting them? Is it that we're not giving them the occasion? So something's off, and this is why I'm thinking, is it confidence? Is it a mentality thing rather than performance and tactical?
We've got a super chat from Niall. Thanks, mate. I'm sick of narrative Eddie was not backed. 70 million was available for him to use, get a right wing and right centre back. Instead, we got nothing. Jack Sparrow's in the house. Do you think we need to take the captaincy from Bruno? After the goal, he didn't look to G up the team. I would prefer the captain's weight to be taken off his shoulders and let him flourish. That's a whole different conversation, Jack, to be honest. I don't like Bruno as captain. I've got to be honest. I love Bruno as a player, but not as a captain. I think there's other players in that team who are more of a captain material, but maybe we should do a show on that. Who should be captain of Newcastle and why? Get people's different opinions on the actual captaincy. Alan says the misfiring from the front three is a massive concern. Greg says, I think we all better calm down. 8 games in, 3 points off top 5. Other fans really rate us and think we'll get Europe. Yeah, but other fans don't see us week to week, do they? And listen, I agree. I think we're not in a bad position. I think a lot of people are panicking a little bit more than what we should be. But this run of games before the next international break is going to tell me where we are. And I think if we don't come out with many points, I think there'll be a lot of people swaying the other way to wanting Eddie out. But I'm still fully behind him. I really do want him to win. I really like Eddie Howe. I like his work ethic and I like his positivity. No. But this is why. Because I think he is capable of winning things. But is he a little stubborn to just backing himself all the time instead of saying, right, that's not working, I'm going to change it? You know, we've seen this 4-3-3. He's consistent with it all the time. Yet some other teams are playing, 4-3-2-1 or 4-2-3-1. And it, we just don't seem to be able to. We've certainly got the players to do it. But is it the manager being too stubborn? I don't know. I don't know what he's
wedded to that formation. Absolutely. Wedded to it, and even when we come across really creative opposition, we still stick to that. So that for me speaks to a lack of creativity tactically, probably. I mean, I think we have often in the past been guilty of playing people out of their preferred positions, which can really knock us as well. I've said this for a long time. I would love to see Bruno 10, 15 yards further ahead than where we currently play him. I think he could be way more creative if he was a little bit further forward. But we are where we are, and he's got till December for me. The clock's ticking, Eddie. It's a different version of Eddie o'clock, and you ain't gonna like it.
Phoenix Pork Pie says, Paul, mate, I never miss a show. You're far too good. I very rarely comment, but I'm starting to worry we're going nowhere. Andrew says, I can't see us overtaking the 7 above us. Fulham, Bournemouth and Forest just behind us. We could end up 10th. I thought 8th at the beginning of the season. I don't see 8th now. Well, as we stand, probably not. No, I have to agree with that, but there's a long way to go yet. Let's see where we are. Let's see where we are at the next international break. And then, of course, after that, we're moving into the Christmas period, which is probably where we're going to look and judge the manager, I guess. Pedro says, Paul, I like Eddie too, but I really can't see us winning anything. Dangling Dave says, I'd change the formation. I would as well. If I'm openly honest, I would change the formation. No doubt about it. Anyway, last word from you, Sam. Talking about the process, where do you think we actually are right now?
A little bit awry of the plan that was ahead. I think there's individuals who we can maybe point a finger to in terms of the transfer window, which was a massive failure, which is hurting us greatly this season. In terms of the business roadmap, I think we are largely where we want to be, though. If you have a look at everything that we've discussed tonight, the St. James's expansion, and although we don't see everything that happens behind the scenes, there's a lot of clues, there's a lot of cues to say what we're doing in terms of that revenue generation. I can really see us on that path for multi-clubs in the next 10, 15 years for sure. Massive new St. James's Park complex incoming, in my personal opinion. And I'm not in the know, by the way.
We're not, no. Paul, 12-man Toon, hope you're well, buddy. Perfect time to go different ways between Howe and the club. Feel he's hit his limit here, and he has dinosaur opinions on how a modern club is managed. Well, look, what's not going to change is people's different opinions about the manager. What needs to change is the performances on the pitch. We need to go to Chelsea and, actually show people what we're about. It's about time that this season changed around now. I want to see Eddie making positive decisions, not reactionary ones. If things aren't going right, then change it before something happens. And try and have a plan B, or at least maybe tinker with the formation, something like that. Because when things aren't working like it isn't this season, surely you should be looking at doing that. But we'll never know. That is down to the manager. But listen, it's been a brilliant conversation tonight, as it always is when we do these kind of shows. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you for all your super chats and memberships. And mods, you've been fantastic again. And a thank you to Lady Sam. It's been a very, very brilliantly good conversation, as it always is with you. They have just praised you. It makes a change.
That's special. I'm going to press record and
absolutely clip it. Yes, it doesn't happen often.
No.
I love you, really. But anyway, Sam will be back tomorrow night with, of course, Aaron for the War Lashes show. And that's going to be an interesting conversation as well, given, we've been talking about Eddie's in-game management. I think there's going to be a lot, certainly from what I've gathered from people who were at the game, about Becky's decisions to take players off. But we'll let Sam and Aaron get stuck into that tomorrow night. That's at 8 o'clock. Remember, the War Lasses show at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And then Wednesday, we've got a transfer show, but it's not really like what we're doing is on Wednesday. We're going to, Billy and Alex will be looking at potential forwards that we could maybe look to in January. We're not saying that these players are coming in. It's just a transfer show to see who maybe we can look at to bolster the forward line. Then, of course, we've got the match preview on Thursday, TTR Friday, and the press conference reaction. And then, of course, Match Day Live on Sunday. So tons of stuff coming up this week. So make sure your notifications are on. And, of course, hit that thumbs up for this show tonight, guys. And, of course, subscribe if you're new and you like what you see on the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell, which will let you know when we upload or go live. But thank you very much for watching tonight, folks. It's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Take care.
Come back and check out some green.